What is up, Mouse fam? Welcome back to episode 5 of Podcasting the Mouse. Today, I actually have two special guests with me. Normally, we just have one. We are doubling the fun tonight. I have two of my best friends in the entire world here with me tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce them. Starting off next to me, Andrea, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Let everyone know where they can find you and a tiny bit about yourself.
All right, I'm Andrea. I live in Southern California. I go to Disneyland a lot, like once or twice a week. I'm about 20 minutes away, so it's easy for me to make trips down the freeway and hang out in the most magical place on earth, happiest place on earth. You can find me on Twitter, Andrea Jessica, or on Instagram, Andrea Runs to DL.
Awesome. And Derek, why don't you let everybody know a little bit about yourself and where they can find you?
Awesome. Hey, everybody. I am Derek. I am so excited to be here. I can't believe this is episode 5 for you already, but what a special episode to be with you both, two of my best friends as well. So it's very exciting for me to participate. I've been a SoCal native, born and raised, just like, Andrew, you weren't born here, right? But you're local. And so, I try to go to the parks as much as I can. I don't go as much as Andrea goes, unfortunately, but I live vicariously through her with all of her Twitter updates. I am actually quarter part of a quartet, a 4-pack of others on our own podcast on Off Harbor in Maine. So you might recognize me on that podcast with Joel, Beth, and Matt. There's some of my best friends as well, so it's really exciting to have that podcast with them. You can find us there, on Off Harbor in Maine podcast or offharborinmaine.com. We are also on Twitter and Instagram, simply at Off Harbor is our handle. And I am personally on Twitter as well at Esplanade.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. And yeah, you guys can follow Off Harbor in Maine. They're on, Apple Music, Spotify, basically anywhere you can find podcasts. So make sure you give them a subscribe there and listen. They are an awesome podcast. And Derek is the newest member to Dis Twitter out of the podcast. He's one of the newest Dis Twitter members, I would say, in general. And we love to have him. And it's been awesome hanging out with you guys recently. And so make sure you give Andrea a follow on Twitter and Instagram and Derek a follow at Esplanade down there. With that being said, we're going to hop into our first topic. This is a topic that Andrea and Derek and I have been discussing for a long time. Thanks to something we got to do. We are talking about the return of nighttime entertainment at Disneyland, specifically, not Fantasmic, unfortunately, specifically Disneyland Forever, World of Color, and the Main Street Electrical Parade. So we're going to talk about that today, but I just wanted to cue us up by saying that Andrea, Derek, and I got to attend on opening day with a couple other friends. We got to see World of Color and Main Street Electrical Parade on opening day. We did not get to see Disneyland Forever because the show got basically half canceled because of the wind, unfortunately. So we got to kind of hear it and see some fireworks, but it wasn't the full show. We did get to see it the next day, though, which was awesome. So, Andrea, I want to start with you. Just your general thoughts on nighttime entertainment finally being back. We'll get into the specifics of each show later, but just your general thoughts of how it felt to have nighttime entertainment back and what you think it does for Disneyland as a whole.
Man, it was pretty exciting. World of Color had been closed even before the pandemic shut down. So I think that it coming back and was kind of like blew me away. I was most excited for the electrical parade because that's my favorite. But I was pleasantly surprised with how much I enjoyed Disneyland Forever and World of Color. I just had forgotten how exciting it was to have that show in DCA and to see all the crowds gathered and feel that excitement. There's just something different when people are excited and all waiting. That we had the Christmas parade this year, so that was like the closest, but it's not the same like nighttime parade. So there's just something nice. The Christmas parade's hard to catch because the last show's at 6. So if you're working and you're coming after work like I do, it's hard to get there. But the Main Street Electrical Parade is just so nice. The 2 showings, that music, everybody's happy. And then Disneyland Forever, we've had Mickey's Mixed Magic and then we had the Christmas fireworks, but I'd forgotten what it was like to have a full castle show with all the synchronization that comes with the pyro and all the effects that are coming on the castle and the projections and stuff. It really blew me away seeing it for the first time since the 60th anniversary. It was awesome.
Right. Yeah, that's a really interesting point too, because going into this show, I was like, thinking about talking about how like it's been so long since we've had nighttime entertainment back, blah blah blah. But it's really not. If you think about it, we had Mickey's Mixed Magic, like you said. We had the Christmas parade, like you said. We
And
even
Christmas
had
fireworks.
Christmas fireworks. Then we've had the hard ticketed events where we had the special fireworks for Sweethearts Night and Star Wars Night. We had the Oogie Boogie Bash and the parade that came with that. But even with that all being said, like it still felt, maybe just for me, but it felt like the energy was different at the parks.
Definitely.
It felt like because nighttime entertainment was back, and I was there that whole weekend. I know you guys have been back a lot since then, but it just felt like, man, like something's different. Like the energy is different. Just knowing that like everyone's going to see these entertainment offerings. Like you don't have to have a hard ticketed event. It's not just Mickey's Mixed Magic. No offense to that show, but it's not a big spectacular. So it just felt like the energy was different. Derek, what are your thoughts on what this does for the resort as a whole?
Yeah, I'm just glad to have it back. It just feels so much more complete with nighttime entertainment than it did before. I mean, it was so good to have the opportunity to just go back to the parks, post, well, we're still in a pandemic, but, hopefully things are starting to calm down. But just to know that nighttime entertainment back, it just feels more whole, like, nature's healing and the world's coming back to normal. And
Right.
yeah, like you guys said, I think just the energy of the parks, even from the start of the day, I think there was just some sort of magic in the air with everybody just really super excited, and everyone, you knew they were there for that reason. Even just everybody getting all crazy, buying all the merch and the popcorn buckets and all that. And just the shenanigans we got into of like planning out our day, I think was part of the whole fun of it all. It was a bit overwhelming, I would say, to have everything kind of return all at once, but it was worth it. And it's just really great to see. I've actually been back once since that time, and got to catch up and kind of slow down a bit with some of the other nighttime entertainments. I got to rewatch World of Color closer, which was awesome. It's funny because the fireworks were canceled again. I was ready to watch it. Yeah. And it was just way too windy. So I think it's interesting that they, end up playing Mickey's Mixed Magic as an alternate and not just, well, I guess they don't really have like a good projection option for Disney Forever, right? Disneyland Forever. But it was cool. Yeah. To watch the parade again. Everyone was really nostalgic about it. Everyone I think here knows my thoughts, my true thoughts about the electrical parade. I would prefer Paint the Night, to be honest, but I do appreciate how others appreciate it, how Andrea and loves it, and how Sean, looking at that through your eyes, first time watcher. I thought that was really awesome. So yeah, it's a good feeling, and it's just when the sun goes down, the lights turn on at Disneyland, and that there's something to look forward to at the end of the night. It's really a cool vibe. So
for sure. Yeah, we can get into the specifics of each show, but I just like how you talked about like the operational, aspect of just having them back and like what that even does for the morning crowds. Like, and maybe that was because when all three of us went, there's the excitement of like the popcorn buckets and the excitement of them being back for the first time. Like maybe that played into it too, but I just feel like every time I've been at the park and it wasn't opening day, like it just brought a different energy. Like even in the morning, Derek, like you said, like it just, and maybe some of it's internal too, but just knowing that like that end of night thing is coming and like everyone's going to experience it because there's 3 different shows and you can't avoid it. Like, and even the like frustrating aspects of it, like the crowds and everything, like just knowing that that's coming just builds that internal excitement. And, when it's not there, like Disneyland's still super magical, but when it's not there, it just kind of feels like, I don't know. I don't want to like degrade the parks without the shows, but it doesn't feel complete, Derek, I think as how you put it. And I would agree with that. Like Disneyland is still 9.5 out of 10 without these, but this is what literally puts the cherry on top and like completes them. So it's pretty crazy. And Derek, it looks like you are live at Disneyland Paris right now for a nighttime spectacular. So I'm jealous.
I am. Yeah. I mean, which way am I looking? Right there at the fireworks? I don't know what nighttime spectacular it is, but yeah, this is in honor of you because you're going on a trip pretty soon. I'm really excited to live vicariously through you in Paris soon. So
yeah, I'm excited for that for sure. So let's talk about the individual ones now. Obviously, Fantasmic is right around the corner. Actually, around when this podcast gets released, it'll be a couple days until that show is debuting. Finally, so great to have it back. But let's talk about World of Color, Main Street. and Forever specifically. Obviously, Derek, we know your thoughts on Main Street Electrical Parade, so maybe we can save that for the end. So let's talk about World of Color and Disneyland Forever. What does it feel like for you, Derek, to have those back? And you can talk about your specifics of each of those two shows.
Yeah, no, I mean it is really great. I think it's really exciting for me personally because I still have something to look forward to since I haven't actually seen the fireworks show. Since it keeps getting canceled. So hopefully with like warmer weather coming around the corner, things will calm down and we'll actually get a chance to see it. But the other night I got to check out World of Color, which was nice. I caught the second showing of it, and so it calmed down a bit. There wasn't as much of a crowd. I didn't have a ticket for the reservation system and the virtual queue, but they were letting walk-ins in past a certain time. Yeah, and so
how
I
early
actually
did you get there? So you saw the second showtime, and what time did you arrive?
I arrived there probably about 15 minutes early, and they didn't have. Well, they had the ropes still up, but then they eventually pulled them down and started letting people in. And I got to like the center part, like where the fountains are in the park. And so it was like front and center. Yeah, it was really cool. And, it is a different experience. I mean, I loved how we got a chance to catch it the first time around, but you can't beat like being front and center.
Right.
Like you really feel the energy of that show. And
so you got a good spot and you only got there 15 minutes before. Granted, you were there on a Monday, right? A Monday night. So,
Sunday.
Sunday. Oh, okay. It was Sunday. Okay. You were there Sunday. Okay, great. So you were there on a weekend night. Obviously, they're not the most busy weekend night because of locals, but you're there on a fairly busy day. You saw the second showing and you got there. You feel like you had a good showing 15 minutes before, or a good spot, I mean?
Yeah. And so, I mean, if that's a good tip I could pass along to anybody, definitely check out the second showing of World of Color. A lot less busy, a lot less stress to have to worry about, queuing up and all that. I guess it depends. I mean, I went on a Sunday. I expected it to be busier than it was, and luckily it wasn't too bad. So
that would be my advice for every show that has two showings. I mean, it sounds obvious, but even when Fantasmic's here at Main Street Parade, like it's not just like slightly less, it's like way less crowds. So obviously it's not possible if you have young kids or whatever, if you have to work or whatever, but if it's possible for you, like for sure, just go to the second showing of everything. It is way better crowds wise. So Andrea, you and I got to have a really good viewing of Disneyland Forever. We got a really solid spot. So what are your thoughts on that show? And then obviously add your thoughts on World of Color as well.
So I think for the trick that we did to get good firework viewing is that we ignored the fact that the electrical parade was coming on the other side of the circle, and we went all the way around the park to get the opposite side of the circle, because then you can kind of get there a little bit later and you don't have to compete with the parade. And so we just spread out because we had a bunch of people coming to join us. That worked out pretty well, and it's pretty great view there. You can see the Matterhorn and the projections on the Matterhorn. You can turn around and see the stuff that happens on Main Street. But like that was the 60th fireworks, and just having that time apart from the 60th fireworks, I think made it special that it came back, because there was a lot of stuff that at the time felt too much. Like they put Let It Go at the end of that, and that was 2015. Frozen had come out in 2013. It felt like they were just shoving that in everything. And that's one of my favorite Disney movies is Frozen. So even with that being my favorite, it just felt like, oh, they're going to put this in everything. But coming back to it this many years later, that even though it's in Mickey's Mixed Magic that we've just been seeing, it was just so beautiful seeing how they had all the fireworks. I know for Sean, for you guys, you and Jess, that I see the light, the Tangled sequence is super important to you guys. And I love that also. So I think it was just really cool, seeing Nemo fly and the whole Matterhorn with the fire on top. I'd forgotten how they put the fire on top of the Matterhorn. I love that so much. And even, I got to catch a glimpse of it from Rivers of America this week on Wednesday. And I was surprised with the finale, how I was emotional again. The Step Into the Magic song is just, I think it means so much more after we went a whole year without getting to be at the parks, and just like, it feels good to have it back. It feels good to see all the big, shiny spectacle that is Disneyland Forever. It's pretty awesome.
For sure. Yeah, I 100% agree. And we'll talk about the shows a little bit more in one of our other topics, but yeah, obviously World of Color and Disneyland Forever. I would say probably pretty unanimously great shows. Like I don't really think anyone out there would say that they don't love one of those two shows. So, or if they do, they're in the vast minority. So let's talk about the practicalities. So in terms of World of Color, my advice for sure, obviously, is the virtual queue if you can get it. Unfortunately, as Andrea, actually, as all three of us realized as we were together, you don't pick your times, and all three of us, I think, would agree, right, that it's not the best system. Like, it doesn't really make any sense. You can't pick your time, so that's a bummer. But I would still recommend doing it. Like, even if your times are like not flexible and you have to have one time or the other, just do it and see what you get. If you don't get it, you can cancel it later. And like Derek said, just show up for the later time. So I would still recommend getting it. Jess and I got it for our second showtime after a couple days after you guys had gone back to work. And we showed up like Derek 10 minutes before the show. We had the 9 o'clock, so the early showtime. And the colors are incredible. Like you get such a good view. It takes a long time to line up because they don't let you in for a while until like right before the show. But the viewing area is spectacular. So I definitely recommend that. As far as Disneyland Forever, I 100% agree with Andrea. I think the best way to go is avoid Main Street Electrical Parade and go on the left side of the hub because the parade runs on the right side of the hub. You're going to get a really good spot. Do you guys have any other recommendations on the best way to view Disneyland Forever?
Well, go ahead, Andrea.
No, go for it.
Well, what I did the other night was I actually timed it so that I could be right at the crossing of Main Street. You know how they let the crowds cross between parade floats?
Yeah.
Right as the last float was rounding the corner. And so what I did was I actually then walked behind the last float so that I could, get onto Main Street without any worry about crowds already being there. And so I actually got to pick my spot on Main Street for the show. This is after the first showing of
right. So this is after the first showing of the parade. You walk behind.
This is the true pro tip right there. That's nice.
That's fantastic. Andrew, do you have any thoughts about like other areas of the park that would be good spots to watch?
Yeah, I was going to say once the electrical parade goes past, even if all the people who are watching go into Main Street, there's still going to be plenty of room on Main Street itself, and you've got all the projections from Main Street. So that's one cool thing they did for Disneyland Forever when they did that was add projections to Main Street. And if you're watching it go, because it comes from Small World, Small World also is a good firework viewing because they do the projections on Small World. You can't see like all the actual fireworks from the castle, but if you're already watching it from back there, I've loved for a different perspective watching them from Small World also because their projections are very clear on Small World.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like most people don't even know about that. And that is a fantastic spot, especially if you can get on the right side. I'm pretty sure it's mostly VIP seating or like, hard ticket seating, unfortunately. But if you can get a spot on the right side where you can see the show on Small World, and then you also get a vantage point if you look to your left of the fireworks, that's fantastic. I'll also throw out there Galaxy's Edge. Obviously, you don't have the show itself, but watching fireworks from Galaxy's Edge is pretty fantastic. And then for now, this won't be relevant for much longer, but Rivers of America is a good spot. I don't think that's going to be relevant anymore once Fantasmic comes back, so take that with a grain of salt. But if for whatever reason Fantasmic's not running while you're there, I would also recommend Rivers of America as a really solid spot as well. So let's move on to Derek's favorite subject here, Main Street Electrical Parade. I want to start with Andrea because Derek, we know your thoughts, and I feel like you two are on the polar opposites, and I'm probably somewhere closer to the middle, so it'll be a good discussion. But Andrea, what are your thoughts on Main Street Electrical Parade, the show itself?
Man, my favorite things about this show is the music, obviously, but the turtles and the bees at the beginning or lightning bugs, whichever they may be. They're just so cute how they like come down and they've got their own like speakers. Yeah, exactly. We all know Derek.
Oh, good, Derek. Okay.
Wait. I got mine too.
Have them hang out in the middle.
Turtle power.
Andrea, put yours in the corner. They can all hang out in the. Yay.
And then I personally just love Elliot and Pete, the dragon. And I just watched that movie yesterday, which just made like my love. The Pete in the parade is so good. He talks just like Pete in the movie, and so that was super fun. I enjoy like Peter Pan coming past. I love Prince Charming and the stepsisters on that float. And I'm happy that they still have, most of the performers in the parade. They still have Snow White and Pinocchio and his friends. And then I have to say, I really love what they did with the last float. I always liked the Salute to America float. Some of that's because like my birthday's July 3rd, so I'm kind of like a 4th of July baby. But so I love like that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just so fantastic. I love what they did with the music. The dolls look great. I think it's really just like made it special again.
So you're happy personally that the Main Street Electrical Parade is back?
Yeah, super happy. And the best part is I've gotten to watch it like 3 or 4 more times. Like it wasn't just that opening night that we went. Yeah. It's like it's there every night. I can go watch it every day. I love that.
100%. That's great. All right, Derek, your time to shine.
Well, I will say, Andrea, thanks to Andrea, she did really do a great job of convincing me to appreciate it for what it is. And so I will say, I got lured into buying this cute little, it is adorable, right? The turtle popcorn or the sipper. Does it have a name, by the way? I don't know if it has a name, but anyway,
I don't know.
Adorable.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Just a turtle on the Wishables.
And the parade, I agree. I think that's great what they did with the last float. I think it does tie really nicely into the whole theme of the parade. I don't think I would dislike Main Street Electrical Parade as much as I do if they didn't bill it in the past as like going away forever, and then it just keeps coming back. It's just like the thing that just won't go away. And I get it. But I think part of that also stems from how they really butchered Paint the Night and didn't really explain why it went away. Like it just decided one time to disappear and it never came back. And so I think those two things combined really kind of made me resentful for Main Street Electrical Parade. And, so there's context to it. I just think overall too, it is a pretty dated parade that, the floats, although they're cute, they are nostalgic. If you compare them up against like Paint the Night, there's just so much advancement to it. And so maybe, if they were to use Main Street Electrical Parade as like their main nighttime parade now, then I don't know, maybe upgrade the floats to where they are more like Paint the Night, and maybe we can have a happy medium. But I don't know, even with Paint the Night, some of the rumors that they had about why they couldn't perform that parade with the performers and, the issues and the injuries or whatever the case may be, I feel like they could have just maybe eliminated some of the performers and kept the floats, and we could have still had a great parade. But, that's just my personal preference. And overall, though, it is enjoyable. And again, like I said earlier, I appreciate that Andrea appreciates it and loves it as much as she does, and you shine right in the middle somewhere.
No, for sure. And us three, especially you two, obviously joke a lot in person and on Twitter because you guys have such polar opposite views of this. But I bring it up, all jokes aside, for good reason, because I feel like both your opinions represent so many thoughts about this parade. Like, yeah, we can all have our individual thoughts and stuff, but like Andrea's perspective of like this parade's amazing. Like, yeah, I'm sure she would agree. It's been brought back too many times, but like just so much nostalgia and perfectness. Like that is a common belief among fans. But then also at the same time, Derek, your thought of like, it's just outdated and it needs to be left in the dead. Like that is also a common thought. And I feel like there's truth behind both of them. So it's funny that you guys have such polar opposite views. And to be fair to my viewers, Derek was sugarcoating his thoughts. Like he's a lot harsher than not, but I like you guys have different views. And I mean, I'm not going to talk about it much because I don't have much to add. I 100% agree with both of you. I don't have any nostalgia for it, and the parade still feels nostalgic. Like it still feels like my childhood, and I loved every second of it except for a couple floats. But at the same time, it's just like it clearly felt like a media move by Disney. Like they knew that would drum up some attention.
Well, I think that's exactly it. Like I remember being so sad I probably watched one of the last performances last time and being like, oh my gosh, I'm never seeing Elliot again. And so then they announce it's coming back. And I don't care how many times they tell me they're taking it away. I'm like, let's go. I'm going to go see my parade. I'm so happy it's back. So I think they know it's like the card they can always pull out of their back of their pocket when they really need to convince people to come
when they're
back.
desperate.
Right, I agree, and I don't even necessarily think that's a bad move. Like, it's not Disney's fault they had to close for a year plus. Like, kudos for them for being creative enough to bring that back again. Like, I get that, but I also agree with the other side. Like, if they're gonna do that, that's great. Like, I'm down for it. But like, A, don't overpromise that it's the last show ever, and B, just give it some refurbs, like give it some updates. And I know they did. Like, they obviously brought in the new float, and you know they've refurbed the float, so that's great. But like the Donald Trump float like needs to go. Like
the Pinocchio float. The Pinocchio
float. Like there's a couple floats like on opening day, like the door was swinging open. Like, just if you're gonna bring it back, and I agree with Andrea's logic, like that is a good reason to bring it back. But like, let's refurb it and not promise that it's gone forever. So, anyways, obviously it's a great parade. Go see it. It's not doesn't need refurbs for sure, but is it still a great parade? I think we can say for sure on that too. So, all right, great discussion on that. We're going to get back into this topic a little bit later. So we're going to hop into topic number 2 right now. And topic number 2, as is always, is the good, the bad, and the great. This week, our topic is going to be something pretty special. We're going to be talking about something we haven't talked about at all on the podcast in any category, Disneyland's Adventureland. This is Andrea and Derek's both top 5-ish favorite lands. And it's basically the only common ground we could find between the two. So that's the land we're going with. And it's for sure in my top 5 favorite as well. So it's a good topic. So with that being said, Derek, why don't you get us started this time? We're going to start with the good. So what is your good of Adventureland?
I mean, the good is just the theming itself. I think it's just so richly detailed. I feel completely immersed in the atmosphere that I'm in when I step into Adventureland. And so if you compare it against like all the other Disneyland lands, like they're all great in their own right, but there's just something about Adventureland that like takes me away to a different place. And so I think that's a pretty good aspect to have as a land.
Fantastic. Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, Andrea.
I do too. All right, I was a little bit more specific, and I put Tropical Hideaway. I really like that new area back there. I like how they included Rosita as, like the mascot for that area. I think the food's really great, and you've got your Dole Whips, but you've got some special Dole Whips which are also really good and fun to try out. The food's great. That extra seating, I think, for Adventureland is huge. There was like no seating in Adventureland before they started redoing some of that stuff. And I love it back there. Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Dude, 100%. Yeah, Andrea, your good really plays into mine and Derek's good, because you brought up Rosita and how like that just continues the theme of Tiki Room, and like how smart of them to like expand Tiki Room while not being too obvious, but also like having so many like nods and stuff. So that's fantastic. And then it ties into mine, and my good is the exploration aspect of it. And a huge part of that is Tropical Hideaway, because already, even with Tropical Hideaway, Adventureland is obviously pretty compact and like small, but I feel like with such a small like area, they still made it so fun to explore. Like, this sounds dumb because I'm a huge Q fan, but like the Indiana Jones Q like just feels such a fantastic expansion and like addition to Adventureland. And so I love that aspect of it. I love the Jungle Cruise queue, even though it can be a brutal wait, like to wait in it. Going upstairs is like so fun because you get the views of Adventureland. And obviously it sucks like if you have to go up there because that means you have a long wait, but like what a cool area. Like there's just an upper deck queue to like view the land from.
Yeah.
Then obviously you have the super fun store that I feel like the gift shop that's really fun to explore. Obviously you have the Tiki Room, which is fun to explore, especially now that it connects to the backside, which is super fun. And then obviously you have the treehouse, which is fun to explore. So small land, but they still fit a lot of ways to explore it. So that's my good. We're going to get a little negative here. Derek, start us off. What is your bad of Adventureland?
Well, I think it kind of connects to what you were just saying about how it's too small of a land. I just feel like it's always crowded, always congested. I would love to go on a day. And it's weird because, Disneyland in general, it just never feels like there's a lull or a slow day anymore. And so especially with Adventureland, like I'd love to just take a photo without anyone in the photo. But good luck to that. And so I think that's just my gripe about it, is that like, coming from my good, where there's just so much theming and immersion that it's just so tightly packed. Like, I remember Disney World's Adventureland at the Magic Kingdom and how nicely spread out it was. And, it was just like, I wish we had the gift of space and the land available to experience that at Disneyland. But, that's just kind of a wishful thinking. It's not really a negative, but just something I wish we had more of.
Yeah, Disney World is huge, unfortunately, but theirs is not as thematically rich as ours, so that's
That's
the
true.
con. But yeah, I will agree with you too on that. But it's nice that they finally got rid of that stroller parking in the middle. Like Adventureland is still bad in terms of that, but it was so much worse when they
Yeah.
had that stroller parking. So at least they're helping a bit, but it's got room to grow.
Yeah.
All right, Andrea, you're negative. You're bad of Adventureland.
Well, I put congested, but I have a second one, so I'll talk about that.
Okay.
This is specific. They redid the bathrooms, which is awesome because they added like a whole, at least in the ladies, obviously that's the only one I've experienced. They added a whole other section of stalls, but there's like 4 sinks and all the hand dryers over the sinks. So you end up waiting in a line for the hand washing, and there's no paper towel dispensers, which I think is that bathroom's got tons of stalls, so there's never a line anymore except for you get done and you have to wait in line to wash your hands. And that I feel like is one of the busiest bathrooms in the entire park because you're coming in and then you've got that shortcut into Frontierland, and the next bathroom is what, like New Orleans Square.
Right.
So
There's no
that's
other
like kind of the bathroom
Yeah.
for Frontierland, Adventureland, and all the way back to I feel like Pirates. You're gonna head over to that Adventureland bathroom.
Yep. Obviously, you have the. Actually, I should ask you guys this: are the Tiki Room bathrooms still public, or are those like not advertised as public anymore?
They're public, but they're
question.
just the two. They're just like 2 family companion bathrooms.
Right. And I know Disney doesn't like to advertise them as like public bathrooms. So yeah, 100%. I'm with you on there. And those, like you said, those are the only bathrooms from Main Street all the way to New Orleans Square. So that's definitely a good one. So mine originally was wait times, because I feel like there's bad wait times for all those, but you guys kind of already brought that up with congestion. So I'm going to bring up a different one, and this might shock some people, but I'm actually going to say dining. And I know that might anger some people, but Bengal barbecue tastes incredible, but it is so overpriced and it's not a full meal. Like, to get a full meal, Andrea and Derek are laughing because we already had this debate on Twitter with a lot of people. So I'm
just glad it's you saying it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up.
But I'm not hating on the taste. Like, I love Bengal barbecue taste. Like, one of the best.
Fantastic.
The sauce is
Right.
good. It's on
But
point,
it's so expensive. Like, it's just way too expensive to get a meal. Like, an actual meal is going to be $20 plus. And I know everyone says like, oh, it's always expensive at Disneyland. Yeah, but I can get a full meal for $15 or less. Like, so I don't like that aspect of Bengal barbecue. And Tropical Hideaway, which I'm so happy they added, huge. I don't think their food's that great either. Like, their bows are like super bomb, but it's like $6 for like one bow.
And they are very small too.
And they're really small bows, and the food inside the actual bow is really small. The lumpia is great, but that's more of a dessert. And that's it. Like, you don't really have any food carts. You don't have any sit-down dining at all. And so, yeah, like the snacks, I would say it's a great land for snacking, but for actually eating, I think it's not solid at all. And so I never find myself eating there for that reason. So that's my negative. We'll get back to the positives, and we'll go super positive here. The great. Derek, what is your great of Adventureland?
Oh, I gotta say, and sorry for the siren if you hear that on my mic.
Yeah.
It's real life back here. I really love that it's the home for Indiana Jones, and I hope I didn't steal anyone else's great here, but I think that's like one of my all-time favorite rides, just for originality and for full like theming, and it's just incredible even to this day to think that it came out so long ago. But you said it best earlier, Sean, about the queue and the exploration aspects of it. Like, there's just so much thought put into the queue along with the ride for Indiana Jones that hands down, that's probably like one of the best experiences. Like, you can't have a Disney day and not ride Indiana Jones. So that's the great for me.
Yeah, it thematically fits in so well too, to your point about good. Like, taking an IP ride and fitting it into one of a classic Walt land. I don't know if you can have a better fit. Like, what a perfect fit in that land. So that's a great one. All right, Andrea.
All right. Well, I picked the Jungle Cruise.
Wow.
What Sean was gonna say, but I love the Jungle Cruise because it is that classic Disney. Like, it's like all the animatronics, the animals, but the real magic is the skippers. And I mean, it's hit or miss, but if you have a good skipper with good jokes, that ride can feel brand new no matter how many times you ride it. It's also great for little kids. It's also a total different experience if you go during the day versus going at night. Like, I love riding it at night. That's my favorite. And even though you might know all the jokes, you get that one skipper that's got a new joke that you've never heard, and it's just, and I'm a sucker for a boat ride too. Like,
Yeah.
I love all the boat rides. They're just so peaceful and calm, and it's just, there's just so much great stuff about that ride.
Yep, and it's classic Walt too. So
Classic.
That's great. The rewritability is great. Yeah, my great of Adventureland is kinetic energy. I think kinetic energy is one of the most underrated aspects of a theme park that like separates a good theme park from a bad is kinetic energy. And kinetic energy done right, and Adventureland kills it. You have the Jungle Cruise boats going by. You now have Rosita giving you like the barking. You have the little waterfall. You have people walking around the treehouse. Like, yeah, that's people walking, but like when they're above you and stuff, you don't notice them. Like, it's just like cool kinetic energy. Like, it makes the land feel alive and just like fun. And then the fact that you have the Bengal barbecue seating area, and then right next to that you have the gift shop, and then across the way from that you have the tiki room little like grandstand there. It just makes it feel so fun, like and alive, like people coming and going, and like, yeah, obviously it's a little bit too crowded, but it's just really good kinetic energy. And for the hard ticketed events, they always throw up entertainment like on the top half of the Jungle Cruise, and it's just so fun. Like, it just makes it. I wish they would do that during the day. I see why they don't, but it has a lot of kinetic energy as well.
All right. I really love that we picked this topic. By the way, I'm so excited thinking about adventure. Like, I think I'm gonna go.
I know, right? I'm like, let's go ride the Jungle Cruise right now. Sounds
for
awesome.
Sure. No, it's amazing. I'm glad we could give love to that land because I feel like it doesn't get talked about that much because it's so small. But
yeah, it's fantastic, and the music is so great. The background music in Adventureland, it's so comforting.
100%. It's a Walt classic. Yep. Hey, there you go. I love it. Derek the Rock. All right, that is our good, bad, and great of Adventureland. You guys can let us know down in the comments your good, bad, and great as well, and if you agree or disagree with us. With that being said, we're going on to topic number 3, and we were hopping right back into nighttime entertainment, nighttime spectaculars, and we are going to be doing our top 5 favorite Disney nighttime spectaculars of all time. They don't have to be going now. You just have to have had saw it in person. It can be on either coast. So, Andrea, we'll start with you. What is your number 5 favorite Disney nighttime spectacular?
All right, my number 5 is the original Disneyland Fantasmic.
Oh, 1.0.
Before they made the changes. Well, maybe 2.0, because I like it after 2008 when they added the big dragon. But before they took out Snow White.
Okay.
And took out, I prefer the Peter Pan version of the Columbia.
Interesting. Okay. I like it. So Fantasmic 1.0. Derek?
I had to go with Paint the Night, of course. I mean, that's just such an awesome nighttime parade that I'm still bitter is not around. I'm still holding on to hope Disney, make it happen. But, it's just the energy of that parade, the theme song. I mean, if you guys remember that theme song, from
Owl City.
Yeah, Owl City. Thank you. So it just was such a great energy. I mean, the floats were incredible. So many colors. The performers, everybody lit up. It just made sense, and it was a lot of fun. And it was a nice nightcap to Disneyland when it was around, and when it crossed over into DCA. Was a nice special moment for them too. So I don't know what happened to it. It's still kind of an unknown. Bring it back. That's my number 5.
Awesome. I love it. No, it's a solid 5. All right, my number 5. I hate doing this, but I got to give a couple shout outs, like honorable mentions. I don't like doing this, but I had to keep 2 off the list that I didn't want to. But shout outs to them. Disney Movie Magic at Hollywood Studios at Disney World. Super underrated show. There's never a wait. There's no like big fireworks because they can't do them, but it's like just an incredibly done like small scale spectacular. So shout out to that. Second shout out to Frightfully Fun Parade. I didn't include it because it's right now only a part of Oogie Boogie Bash, and so that's a hard ticket event. So it's not really fair because not everyone gets to see that show right now. Yeah, I didn't want to be
for people with money.
That parade at DCA right now, like just perfect for Oogie Boogie Bash, the perfect parade. So I hope they don't get rid of it. But my true number 5, Harmonious. If it did not have the horrendously horrible barges during the day, it would probably be higher on my list. The show is incredible, but the backdrop for the show sucks. But it's still a really, really great show that I think brings Epcot together overall. So that's my number 5. All right, Number 4, Andrea.
All right, mine is the Main Street Electrical Parade
Hey,
for all the
there's the shout out.
previously mentioned reasons.
Totally fair. Hey, that's your show right
Yeah,
there.
you do you, boo.
I'll tell you this: Derek will not have that as his number 4.
Yeah. Nice guess. My number 4 was Remember Dreams Come True.
Yes.
It's such a classic, fireworks show for Disneyland. The meaning behind it, Disneyland did the 50th, right, when they had their
Yeah,
anniversary, and it
100%.
just paid really good tribute to what the park means to everybody and each of the lands that represents. So it holds a special place in my heart. So that's my number 4.
Awesome. I love it. That's actually my exact number 4 as well.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
for that reason, I'll switch it to Disneyland Forever just so I can talk about that a bit. I think the Dreams Come True is the better show, but Disneyland Forever just, I don't know, maybe just because I just watched it, but that really hit me. I'm not the type of guy to like care about the fireworks. Like I love the fireworks, but I don't like the if you tell me if you launch 2 different fireworks shows and tell me they're different, I'd be like, I didn't notice a difference. But in terms of the actual shows, I love the Disneyland Forever projections that they added. So, but yeah, you can't go wrong with either of them. They're both great. All right, top 3, Andrea. Number 3 for you.
Ooh, mine is Illuminations.
Ooh.
I remember. Now I've probably seen both versions because I know I saw Illuminations as a kid at Epcot, and I know that it's different than Reflections of Earth. But I've seen Reflections of Earth. Well, I saw Reflections of Earth as an adult. But the way that they light up each country at the ends, the fireworks and the barge, the globe opening, the soundtrack, like it just never failed to leave me emotional. It's so beautiful. I haven't been to see the new stuff, but I have a hard time believing it could come close to Illuminations.
I've never seen either of them, so I want to see them really bad. That's a great choice. All right, Derek, your number 3.
My number 3 has to be World of Color. And it's a toss-up because they have also the holiday version, which I really love too. But yeah, it just was such an innovative show when it first came out. And just all the things that they've done with it, not just the fountains, but the lasers and the fire and the music and how they've integrated all the stuff, even in the park itself, the fountains, and for holidays, how they did like those snowflakes that would fly up into the air.
Yeah.
Really cool effects. And so, it holds a special place in my heart being California Adventures, Nighttime Spectacular. So gotta be number 3 for me.
I promise you viewers that Derek and I did not go over our list before. My number 3 is also World of Color. I'm with Derek. Any version's good. The old Neil Patrick Harris version, the current version, or the holiday version. Anything but the Halloween version that they had the first year Oogie Boogie Bash. That was really, really bad. I don't think it's ever coming back. But other than that, they're all great. I love, like Derek said, that it's DCA's like park or DCA's show. I love how original it is. I love that like it's unique to just DCA, and that's so rare for a Disney show.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially the parades and stuff and Fantasmic. So I love that, and I just love that it like you're walking around the pier and you don't even notice it, and then all of a sudden like this show just pops up. So I'm a big fan of organic shows, which is why I have World of Color above Harmonious. Harmonious might be the better show, but World of Color is like organic and natural and like original to that park, whereas Harmonious, is the 3rd or 4th iteration of that show, of that lagoon. So that's my number 3. All right, top 2, Andrea. What is your second favorite nighttime spectacular at Disney?
Believe in Holiday Magic, the Christmas fireworks.
Interesting.
Good choice.
Nice.
Those have been I don't know if there's ever been a different Christmas fireworks, but those have been the Christmas fireworks since I moved out here in 2005. And that was a big strike against Disneyland Forever for me, was that year they did not show the holiday fireworks. And I was so upset all Christmas. So I do have some resentment for Disneyland Forever because of that still to this day. But that show to me, it's not the holidays if I'm not at Disneyland watching that snow or watching the show and then having the snow afterwards. It's just, pure magic. It gets me emotional every time. The song, I love it. It's so good.
Really, really great choice.
Love that.
Love it. All right, Derek.
So my number 2 is Happily Ever After at the Magic Kingdom.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. I just love the soundtrack to it, and I don't remember the last time I was I was a little kid when I went to Disney World, and there was a whole break, a lull that I had. And the only time I came back was in 2018 with Joel, Matt, and Braden. And I saw Happily Ever After. It was really just overwhelming for me because it was the first time really seeing like their castle. And I don't, you can make the
Aw.
comparisons against Disneyland and Disney World, but it is a beautiful castle, and
Yeah.
just how grand it is, the fact that they can put those types of projections on it and integrate it into the show, and the fireworks, how it's like all around you, and again the music for that show is just really captivating. And so yeah, that's number 2 for me.
That's a really great one. I didn't even think about that one, to be honest. So
What?
I've only seen it once, and I lost my wedding ring the one time I saw it.
Oh
So
no.
I got you.
Yeah,
I've
that's
only
not a
seen
good
it.
memory.
I've only seen it once as well.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Andrea. But no, good show. That's a great choice. My number 2 is Paint the Night. It was back and forth all night.
Whoa.
Probably could have put this number 1. I'm mad that Derek has it so low.
Wow.
I think Paint the Night is insane. The only con against it is it's not really nostalgic, but the fact that it's like kind of a different iteration of Main Street Electrical Parade makes it like almost nostalgic in that way. But just love that show, man. Just so fun, and just like it's just fun. And there's no reason it should be so fun. But that song just gets me so hyped, and I don't even like Owl City. But that song just makes me go
Yeah,
like,
it's good.
that's the
It's
one
so good.
song. Like I don't really listen to Disney Parks music at home. That's the one song that I'll turn on and just like blast. Like it's just a fun show, man. Like the cars section, it's just I think it's incredible. I think that's a show that should always be happening at all times. Like it doesn't carry the same weight as some other shows in terms of importance, but I think it's just a perfect show to like just have playing. And so I'm sad that it's not at DCA right now or even at Disney World. Like I wish it would be at some park anywhere, but that is one of the best shows I've ever seen. So that's my number 2. All right, we're up to our number
Nice.
1. Andrea, bring us home. Number 1.
Well, you guys already said my number 1, but my number 1 is Remember Dreams Come True.
Ooh.
Yes.
I think it is, as Derek said, just the perfect tribute to Disneyland. I love that it pays tribute to the Electrical Parade, a bunch of the rides, the movies, like, Tinkerbell flies. It's just iconic. And for me, it was the fireworks that were playing when I came to California. But it's funny because when I came, I was like, oh, fireworks, perfect. We can go on all the rides right now because everybody's watching the fireworks. And then the first time I watched the fireworks, I was blown away. And then I'd be like, no, rides aren't important. We have to watch the fireworks. But I just love that show. And I love when they brought it back last time, they upgraded it and added the projections on Main Street in the castle. So I love that they've kept like updating it with the technology that they have in the park. And it just, to me, that is the quintessential Disneyland show.
Yeah, amen. Couldn't agree more. All right, Derek, you're number 1, sir.
Well, just to add to Andrea, I forgot to mention this earlier, but you can't go wrong with a fireworks show that has Julie Andrews in it as the narrator. So she has a little bit extra magic touch there.
Disney legend.
Anyway, yeah. So my number 1, and you guys touch on this too, is actually Fantasmic, but it is the most recent version, and I know Andrea is bitter about.
We're gonna have to have
Snow
some
White being
conversations later.
But the Tangled scene is actually pretty incredible. I don't know if people know that the audio was pulled from the segment in World of Color, one of the holiday shows.
Oh,
Tangled.
interesting.
Yeah,
Cool.
And so it's very dramatic, right? And I think it fits. Although I do miss Snow White. Like she is quintessential to classic Disney with right there with Mickey Mouse. So I wish she was in the show. But I think the new version just has like such a better soundtrack to it. The way that they redid all of the orchestration is really, really cool and interesting to me, and a lot of the effects that they've added to. I think just overall the whole show just is such a great representation of Disney and Disneyland. And I think I am kind of biased too, because I did grow up on that. Like when I think about Disneyland, meeting up with all our friends, and just having that time watching that, seeing the energy of the rivers of America and everyone, it's just such a different feeling. And there's comparisons then too, right, of Hollywood Studios, and you just can't compare the Disneyland version being as organic as it is. Like you said, Sean, like coming out of nowhere, right? Like you don't see that there's a show that's set up for there, and then all of a sudden all this stuff happens. So That's
Or like all of
really
a sudden
cool.
the Mark Twain goes past you with all the characters on it. Like,
yeah, and you were
that's
writing that
iconic.
earlier in the day. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So that's number one for me.
Awesome. I love it. Well, Derek, finally our lists don't match because
Oh,
my number
that
one
for sure.
is Enchantment. No, I'm just
What?
kidding. And my Fantastic 2 are lists the exact same, basically.
Oh, I was like, they're gonna come for you, Sean.
No, Enchantment's trash. My joke is gonna be Enchantment or Kite Tales, but Enchantment's the worst show.
Night
So.
Tales, let's go. I'm so sad it's ending.
I didn't pick it because it's not a nighttime show.
I know,
Yeah.
right? No, Enchantment's trash. Fantastic's my choice. It doesn't get any better than that. And I'll go with 2.02 just because I'm absolutely obsessed with the Pirates segment. I know it's not like classic Disney, the Peter Pan is, but I just love that segment so much. One of my favorite segments. And you guys already hit the marks on why Fantasmic's so good. But the one thing I'll add is it's one of those shows that's incredible for people that have no clue about Disney or people or like the super fans, you know, like back before in February 2020, before COVID, I took my bachelor and bachelorette parties there at the same time, my wife and I, and we had like 6 or 7 people that didn't care about Disney, didn't want to go. They're only going for us. And Fantasmic is what won them over.
Wow.
So that show is classic for new people. It's classic for locals. And the organic nature of it is what's so good about it. So, all right, guys, that is our segment. Let us know down in the comments your top 5. If Enchantment and Kite Tales are not on your list, don't even bother commenting because those are obviously And that is going to bring us into our next topic, topic number 4. Now, this topic is our guest topic. So we'll be focusing on Andrew and Derek, and we have 2 guests for the first time ever. So it's going to be kind of tough. We're going to be focusing on both you guys' stories here. But I want to know your guys' Disney story. What got you into Disney? Obviously, I know you guys kind of shared that a little bit at the start. So maybe more so of your Disney journey recently, you know, the last couple of years and or at least since the parks have reopened. And then, you know, like what keeps drawing you at the parks and what you are most excited for going forward. So Andrew, why don't we start with you, your Disney story, and maybe focus on the last year or so of that as well.
Yeah. Okay. So I grew up in the Midwest, and I know I came to Disneyland when I was like 3. That would have been my very first Disney trip, I think. But then I grew up, my first memories are of going to Disney World in elementary school. And my senior year trip was also to Disney World. So then I moved to California after visiting Disneyland and loving it. That's not the only reason I moved here, but it was a contributing factor. And I became a pass holder when I was a teacher, when I started teaching. And that was my early Disney was every Friday. Me and my 3 other teacher friends, when we were in our early 20s, we would head straight to the park after work. And that was kind of like the perfect way to let off steam, being a young teacher and all the pressures of that. And we would run around. We all had different princess tiaras. And the magic was just so real. Like cast members, we'd had cast members like curtsy to us and bow to us and like, oh, here you go, princess. And we were just always just like, wow, this place is so amazing. So it's always kind of in my adult life been my like home away from home. And as an adult, I've been to Disney World a few times. My sister lives in Orlando, so I go fairly regularly. But it was really tough when everything shut down. I actually called in sick on the last day that Disneyland was open and spent the day at the parks, and then was super fortunate to go when it reopened. But for the last year since it's been open, I think what's been super special is that I formed so many cool friendships mainly from Twitter of fellow people like Sean and Derek who love the Disney parks. And it's been so cool to meet up with people that I've only spoken to like online and just feel like this instant connection and friendship exists because of this place. And it's just been, it was such a comfort during the pandemic to like talk about Disney, even though we couldn't go there, and to argue about all these things like which nighttime spectacular is the best. But I think the real thing is it's been there for me and a lot of my close friends that exist outside of Twitter. Like it's been the place where we celebrated birthdays, you know, and engagements, and even been there for all the sad things, you know. But now it's just become even more rich because I have all these new people who love it, and we can go. And for me as a, you know, single woman, it's a safe place for me to hang out, which is super important. I can go walk around, I can go have a drink and know that I'm safe. and that can never be overstated how important that is for me. So yeah, it's just kind of not everything to me. My friends and my family are everything to me, but it's a pretty great place. I feel like it's facilitated a lot of the close friendships I have in my life and really enriched the ones that I have.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I love
That's
how you
awesome.
talked about, I know you and I have talked about this in person, but I love how you talk about you as a single woman can go to the parks and
Yeah.
not worry about like anything, whatever. I'm not a single girl, so you can talk on that. But like, I love you talk about that because I feel like that doesn't get talked about Disney,
Yeah.
especially in the like Disney adult combo. And so that's really great.
Yeah. It's
The
nice.
safe
I know I
space.
can park and walk through the parking structure and know that I'm safe. And, there's if my car doesn't start, there's people to come help, like all those kind of little things. It just knowing that there's people around to have an eye on you is super. It's a big deal.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. That's awesome. Okay, Derek, your turn. And also, if you want to touch on a little bit about your journey revolving off harbor in Maine too, and how that, I mean, I'm sure that's part of your story already, but if you want to touch on that as well.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as I mentioned at the beginning, born and raised here in LA, so I've always been a SoCal boy, and growing up, Disneyland was just part of my childhood, but it was just such a special place because, that was where we got to celebrate all of our birthdays and, different memories to make with the family. And, being in SoCal, you got to kind of be spoiled with all the other theme parks or amusement parks that are here in the area, right? So you got Universal, Knott's, SeaWorld, and those are all great places. But then, if you stack them up against each other, there's just nothing that can compare to Disneyland. And so I just really found such you know excitement thinking about the parks and what it represented. And I think for me too, especially, I'm kind of really into all the details, and I love that Disney pays attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, mostly, but that they can, pay attention to those details. And for me, I'm just excited to see that they are always thinking about something new to bring to
Yeah.
the table, whether that be in their their rides or their entertainment, or even just like repainting the facade on Main Street. Like,
Yeah.
there's just like that kind of stuff is so it sets them apart, in my opinion. And which is why I'll always just be interested in it. And why I think all of us are interested in the park, because there's just so much going on. And it is, of course, at least especially with Disneyland, being that it's Walt's original park, I just feel like it's such I'm so lucky to be able to
Yeah.
experience it when not too many can, right? I would love to experience more of the worldwide parks. I'm really jealous of Sean going to Paris. I've been to Paris twice, but I haven't been to Disneyland Paris. I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that on this show right now. But one day. But yeah, so just Disneyland, it really is that special place. And Andrea really touched on it a lot. I think the other aspect of it too, to answer your question, Sean, about like off harbor, the people who are on that podcast with me are some of my best friends. Like, I don't know if everyone remembers way back when before Twitter, we used to post on internet discussion boards, and our favorite one was laughingplace.com. And that's actually where I met Joel, Beth,
That's so
Matt, a
awesome.
lot of other friends. Yeah, and it's funny. I saw Beth this past weekend, and we were just talking about how next year is our 20th anniversary of all of us being friends. So it is really
Dude.
incredible, right? I mean,
Amazing.
it is amazing. We've all kind of grown up together. I've been in Joel and Beth's weddings, and seen them have their kids, and just
Wow.
kind of grow a family. And so it's special. Like, our podcast was kind of born out of the pandemic, which is I think like a lot of people, something to do, keep us occupied. The parks were closed, but we're keeping at it, and life sometimes gets in the way, but it is a nice way to just kind of escape and talk about whatever we want to talk about. Our little niches, have a drink and talk about Disney. So how can it get any better than that, right? If you're not at the park. So that's kind of our little escape. But I think in general, like with the community, are we talking about that yet, or just kind of roll into it? Or
No, yeah, go ahead. For sure, go ahead.
yeah, I mean, well, as Sean mentioned, I'm kind of a newbie. I mean, not really a newbie to Twitter. I was looking back. I joined in 2020, which is crazy that it's been that long already. But
Yeah.
That's
but
crazy.
in the thick of all of that, like just aside from the original friends I had, making new friends the way that I did, I just feel so incredibly blessed. Like
Same.
Sean, Andrea, like a few other people here, just kind of like so special. And I'm not just saying that just because, like, I've actually feel really blessed to have them and to experience them in a different way. I'll always have, my OG people in my
Of
heart.
course.
So
Same.
shout out to Joel, Beth, and Matt.
I'm
But,
not asking to take over their friendship. I'm trying to join the friendships, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
We just
exactly.
want in.
Separate them,
We just want in.
They're trying to separate these groups right now.
No, but I mean to say, like, it's just so cool to make new friendships and new memories. Twitter is such a wild, like this Twitter is such a wild, crazy place. I love that people, like, I love the debating aspect of it, right? And just finding all of these difference of opinion. People get kind of wild there sometimes. I try not to contribute too much to the crazy.
Derek, you rile the crowds more than anybody.
Yeah, you come in all late and push the buttons.
You guys like those floating mountains, right? Everybody loves floating mountains.
Listen, sweetie.
No, but it is really cool to found a place that kind of is like the discussion boards 2.0. But it's, to talk about Disney, all things Disney, get constant updates there, but especially to meet the people.
Yeah.
It is really, really cool and really special. So that's my story in a nutshell.
Yay.
I love it. Andrew, do you want to touch on, Derek touched on a bit too, but just the community aspect of it? And I know you and I and Derek have talked about it a lot already, but just your thoughts on
Twitter?
Yeah, just the Disney community, and just I think you actually kind of touched on it already, but just how, especially since COVID, how it's grown, how the community's grown.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like, I feel like even just that weekend that I feel like it really felt like a community the weekend that all these shows reopened, like in the morning we were just hanging out, like getting our popcorn buckets, and then there's Elijah, and then like Sean, you knew some people that I hadn't met, and now I follow them on Twitter and we interact, and it's just the way that it just keeps growing, and it just feels so cool to go and be like, oh yeah, so and so's here, and run and say hi, or like there's been in the last few weeks, there's been a couple different people who've been visiting from Disney World for like the first time, and I got to meet some of them, and then that's been super cool. It's like we talk on Twitter, and now you're here and we can talk about what you love about Disneyland and compare it to Disney World. The first time I went to Disney World as an adult, like on my own trip, I spent like so much time just like, okay, well, this ride's better at this park, but this ride's better over here. And I drove everybody crazy. But now it's like I found my people who will also debate me or agree with me or be like, yeah, but what about this? And it's just like, oh, these people get me. It's like they're speaking my language and they want to rank every ride at Disney and compare all the different versions of Pirates. It's like, it's awesome.
You just explained exactly how my YouTube channel was born, because everyone's getting pissed off that I was ranking everything. So that's why you're one of my co-hosts at ranking them out, podcasting them out. I love it. And I love how you touched on too, like meeting new people that someone else knows, because obviously, like, all of us have friends on Twitter that we would hang out with anyways. But I love that, like, now groups are coming together. Derek's trying to split up the groups.
Yeah. He's like, no, these are my friends.
Yeah. But I love that you said that, like, someone will come in and like I'll have a friend from Seattle, or like, someone will have a friend from their hometown, and like they will just join the group and hang out, and like there's no friction. And all the other like passions I have in life, and I'm sure you guys can attest to this too, of your non-Disney passions. Like, I've never seen that. Like in the sports community, it's very like cliquey, and in like the fashion community, it's very cliquey, and like, so I love that. And obviously I'm not saying there's not that in theme park fandom, there is, but in our community that I've seen that we've grown, like, it's just everyone hangs out with everyone, and I love that. So I'm glad you touched on that. So wow, we got deeper than I was expecting we would get today. That's awesome. I love it. Every time our free talk, it somehow randomly gets like really deep and personal. I don't know why. But anyways, that's going to lead us into our last topic, topic number 5, the one that everyone loves the most important topic of the day. Derek and Andrea, I need in order your top 3 favorite theme parks you have ever ridden, any theme park, and your one theme park ride that you've never ridden that you want to ride the most. Derek, we will start with you. Top 3 favorite theme park rides in order.
Is this 3-1?
3-1.
All right. So my number 3 is Big Thunder Mountain Railroad.
Yeah.
It is classic Disneyland. There's just something about that ride. I think, the sounds and the atmosphere. It is really fun and unique, and just all the elements, even especially like with that last lift hill.
Yeah.
You got that scene with all the explosions happen around it. Like it's just really a special ride. And so just overall thinking about in comparison to all the rides at Disneyland, I mean, Space Mountain is up there too, so honorable mentions to that. But I think just as a favorite ride, and both in the daytime and in the evening, Big Thunder Mountain has a special place in my heart. So that's number 3.
Love it.
Number 2 has to be Flight of Passage at Animal Kingdom.
Oh,
that is such. I mean, I was so blown away. I was like almost in tears when I first rode that ride. Yeah, I mean, it's just so breathtaking, and you're just sitting on this contraption and you're not really going anywhere, but it feels like you're like flying to new heights, for lack of a better term there. Just the vistas and the way that it does convince you that you're like dipping and turning, and like you just feel like you could just take in all the air in on the ride. It's really convincing, and I think is just a really great addition to Animal Kingdom and to Pandora in general. So that's got to be number 2 for me. Number 1, I think this is maybe obvious. Hopefully it's not stealing from anyone else's, but Rise of the Resistance is my number 1.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it is just such a unique experience. It's not even just all about the ride, but queuing up for it, the way that they they really take you into the story of it. I think that really does do its job of immersing you into the story of Star Wars and Galaxy's Edge. But everything about it is so convincing, and just the ride mechanisms, all of the different ways that they do things on that ride. The things that surprised me about how you there's one part where you actually go up and then go back around, and then the section where it's kind of like Star Tours and you kind of dip, and I don't know, just like so many things that it's hard to explain unless you've actually been on the ride.
It's like a bunch of rides all in one.
Yeah, and so that in of itself, I think, is such a win for Disney and Disneyland, and I really can't think of a negative except sometimes I hold my breath that all the effects are working, especially since it's so new. Like I've been on rides with people who have never ridden it, and then you're kind of bummed when that one scene where
Kylo's
you're
not
expecting
out.
It exactly.
For Kylo's in the ship.
So
yeah, but I would say that's true about most big rides. Racers, Indiana Jones, so making minis. Unfortunately, that's just kind of common now.
Yeah, that's true. So that's kind of like par for the course, and I think that's kind of nitpicking at that point. But yeah, so that's my number 1. I think it's such a great experience and nice addition to the day of your day at the park.
So Thunder, Flight, Rise. 3 very different, unique rides too. So I like that. All right, and one ride you've never been on that you need to ride the most.
Oh yes, so gosh, I mean, it was a toss up too between Pirates at Shanghai, because wow, like if we were to do it over. Again at Disneyland, I'd love to see that, but I ended up picking Mystic Manor at Hong Kong, just because it is such a original ride, and I think it would be a great addition to hear if they ever did that. I know we keep like telling, Armchair Imagineering to do like as a Winchester Mystery House, so we're at the pier with the same sort of concept, but I just feel like they did such an incredible.
Or in Grizzly by Redwood Creek Challenge Trail.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so I think that's maybe, I mean, it's still on my bucket list to go worldwide and go to Hong Kong. I think they have such unique experiences there too. But just looking at YouTube videos in my spare time, that's what I like to do. Just imagining I'm there on the ride. I think that all the effects and everything they put into that is just so incredible. I think it's just a really good example of Imagineering work. So, yeah.
Great answer. Love it, Derek.
Mhm.
Awesome. All right, Angie, your turn. In order, top 3.
Okay, number 3 is the People Mover.
Whoa.
Tomorrowland Transit
Nice.
Authority.
Wow. Top 3 of any theme park ride in the world.
I wasn't expecting that.
What
Hey,
I
I love
remember
that ride.
about Disney World being little, there's like a handful of things, but the People Mover is one of them that I remember from my childhood. And like Carousel of Progress, Spaceship Earth, Spaceship Earth was up there too. But what I love about People Mover when I go back as an adult, I'm pretty sure I never rode People Mover at Disneyland that I know of. But I love the views. It's so relaxing. Anyone can do it. I love how you get to see glimpses inside space. That's why I remember being a kid when I was too little to ride Space Mountain. It was like catching the glimpse of Space Mountain that I was too small for. Yeah, I just love it. I also love the like, instead of an escalator, the ramp, the moving belt ramp. I thought that was so cool. And the fact that it's like an Omnimover and it doesn't stop as you load, just like all those things from the perspective of a 6-year-old there for the first time. It's just like, wow. And then I love the glimpses of the little like tomorrow, like the future, the little dioramas and stuff. So I love that.
I gotta say, in the history of this channel, no one's ever said that, and I'm not sure I'll ever get it again in the top 3.
Really? I figured it was people.
Ride, but top 3 of any theme park ride in the world. That's bold, but I love it.
That is a good choice, though.
I've been to the Universals in the country, and I've been to Disneyland Paris and ours. I have not been to the any of the other parks. I've been to Paris, but in the US ones. Okay, so my number 2.
Can I just add really quick though? Like, I love, to Sean's point about the energy in Adventureland. I love how People Mover gives you that kinetic energy that we are sorely lacking in Disneyland. So yeah, that's really cool. I love that choice.
I think it's cool how it's got like Tomorrowland has a second level of activity because of that, and also the Astro Orbiter. Like, it's just it's like literally on a different level. I think it's so cool.
Agreed.
So my number 2 is Big Thunder. I love Big Thunder. Yeah, just like everything you said, it's fast. It's not too fast. You can still, like, even if you can't handle intense roller coasters, which as I age, it's getting harder for me, but it's still fun. I know every like little turn, and I love when you're going around the circle and it like does that hesitation thing and it like kind of pulls you back up, and then the goats. The train itself is so cute. Like, I always ride towards the back, which is super fun, but I was with some kids and we were riding towards the front, and I'm just looking at the front of this little train going so fast around, and I was like, it is just so cute. It's such a cute train. I love being back on Big Thunder Trail when you hear everybody screaming as they go around the corners. You've got water, you've got the waterfall, you got the dinosaur bones. The queue is great. It's just, I could ride it every time and not ever get tired of it.
That's so funny at your number 2, because People Mover, I've never had anyone say in their top 3 ever on this channel. Probably never will. And Thunder is surprisingly, shockingly, the most common answer anyone's ever given.
Really?
I don't get why Thunder's. I mean, I get why it's an amazing ride, but it's just funny how the juxtaposition.
I like popular things and unique things at the same time.
Yes,
So
you're so original. I love it. All right, number 1.
Well, you two probably already know my number 1, but my number 1 is Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. I was one of those people who was so mad that they were changing Tower of Terror, and they just hit a home run. That ride is so good. The rocket animatronic, the whole spiel in that first room, I can quote it word for word, and it's funny and it doesn't get old. I love it so much. I love when he grabs the Walkman. I love that there's 6 songs, so you can. I have 3 favorites and 3 I don't like. So you get one you don't like, you're like, oh, I better go again to get one that I do like. I love that the scenes change. So it's not, the same thing. A couple weeks ago, in 1 week, I rode that ride 6 times and I think 3 other rides in like my 2 trips that week.
Dang.
I could just ride it over and over again. The queue once you get inside is really cool, but it's just so fun. And also, as a physics teacher, I'm always thinking about the physics of the situation. And it's really fun for me to be thinking about how all of the physics in that scenario works with gravity and how they pull you down faster. And yeah, I just love it.
Can you get more opposite rides than People Mover and Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout?
I mean, okay, well, the contender, my other contender for third place was Mr. Toad's Wild Ride and Snow White's Enchanted Wish. So that tells you where my head is.
Fair enough. People Mover is like a slow moving, like traditional Disney ride with zero IP. And Mission Breakout's like a rethemed IP, like crazy, just like rock and roll.
It's so fun, though. It's so fun. I mean,
that's amazing.
That says a lot that the funness of that outweighs all the Disney.
For sure. No, love it. That's a great top 3. Great top 3. All right. And your number 1 you've never been on.
Okay. So this one will be remedied soon, but it is Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. I've heard nothing but good things. I haven't watched any videos. I've seen pictures. I can't wait till either I finally, I've been to Disney World a few times since it's open, but I never bothered to go to Hollywood Studios. So either I need to make Hollywood Studios a priority or wait till it opens here. But either way, I can't wait. I think from everything I heard, it's going to be one of my favorites. I think it's going to add a lot to Disneyland. I think I wish it hadn't replaced the Great Movie Ride, but yeah. So
I'm glad you haven't watched POVs on it because I think that's smart to not watch POVs on it if you've not.
Yeah, I want to experience it for the first time when I finally do. So
I did that. I ruined it for myself. I wasn't disappointed, but I didn't know it was coming to Disneyland. I'm like, okay, screw it. I'm just gonna watch it. But I loved it, and I'm super excited.
Have you been on it yet, Derek?
No, and So one day.
Yeah, it's a great ride, and I'm glad it's coming to Disneyland too. And I'm glad that it's getting rumored some new scenes because I don't like direct clones, and that is a great ride. So I don't want it to be direct cloned. So
yeah, I really do love comparing all the different versions of the parks.
Yeah. For sure. Awesome. Well, those are a fantastic list, guys. Thank you both so much for joining me. Really quick, too. We're a lot over on time, but that's okay. Really quick. Why don't you both let everyone know where they can find you? So, Derek, you go ahead first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Twitter most of the time. So my handle is @Esplanerd. So you can find me there.
And if you don't already follow him, but you follow Andrew and I, you can just type in Derek and his name will pop up too as well.
That's true.
That's easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm on Twitter @Andrea Jessica.
Awesome. And then make sure Andrea has Instagram as well. And then make sure you follow Off Harbor in Maine and subscribe to their podcast as well. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Everyone in the comments, let me know what you thought. Let me know what you thought of Andrea and Derek's answers as well. Make sure you guys follow them on social media. Until next time, peace.